Welcome back to Gathering of Geeks. I am Bear Wiseman, and this week I am back again with another non-musician. I am here with Jouni Koponen, who is the artist of this wonderful book, graphic novel, I suppose.
Yeah, sure.
And it has come to my attention that you might be a bit of a geek.
Yeah, I think that is accurate description. I mean, I think that some other episode there was a discussion of what is nerd and what is geek. So I think I fall in the geek category.
I actually thought about that geek versus nerd dichotomy a lot when I was younger, because what was it that Keith said that it was from The Simpsons, that nerds are smart or geeks are smart?
Yeah, I think it was basically that when you are a geek, you are just interested in some geeky stuff. But when you are a nerd, you are really immersed in that. So you can say I'm a comics geek. I like Marvel stuff, but nerd could tell that in which issue Captain America did this and that to this and this person. So I think that is at least personally, I think that is kind of the definition.
Yeah, that works. I've heard also that it might be that maybe you're interested in math and stuff as well, but
yeah, that might be.
I'm such a artistically minded person. I can't get into math. I've tried. It's just I'm so legendarily bad at it. It seemed like not worth my while to do it.
Yeah, that probably takes kind of the other side of the brain to work properly to go into math. But I think, quite a lot of the nerdy stuff is about math. It is about what happened when and in which episode or which issue something happened and how many issues have there been and so on and so on. So I think there is kind of math thing in the nerd things too.
Yeah, well, and especially if you go into old Star Trek, people will get into that difference between science fiction and science fantasy, which I've always been like, I don't like to think about things too much, so I kind of hate that. I know my partner is all for the difference, but I'm not. I'm just like, no, if you have laser beams and spaceships, then you're science fiction, and if you have like elves and swords, you are fantasy.
True.
If you want to separate it beyond that, that's fine, but that is the difference. It's like
That's it.
No tech versus tech. And
okay.
if you really want to throw me off my rocker, then you go into Final Fantasy where they get kind of steampunk and
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, area.
Is it science fiction or science fantasy or steampunk or...
And I think with Final Fantasy it tends to kind of change, from game to game.
Yeah.
So I'm not really familiar with it. I think I played the Final Fantasy, was it, the one on PlayStation, was it on the first or PlayStation or the second one? Yeah. Was it 7 or
Seven's
something?
the one that was the first one on PlayStation. That's the general favorite.
Yeah, I think I played that some, but at some point I just ran into some kind of basically to a wall and I don't know what to do, so I left it.
That's happened to me with, I feel like, a lot of Final Fantasy games that I do come back around, but Final Fantasy VIII in particular, I managed to get to the end of the game without ever learning how to play it. And
that's interesting.
Is 4 discs. I got all the way to the 4th disc, and then the problem was that I was using these summons that just blanket attack everyone. And I didn't know how to. There's a whole system where you have to like draw magic from others, and the magic affects your stats. But because I never did this, all of my characters were super weak. And so I get to this final battle where an enemy kind of sucks one of your characters into her chest. You can't blanket attack everyone because you'll kill your party member and it'll be game over. So I was completely fucked. And I had to go back. I was lucky that I still had a save. But I had to go back and go to one of those special places you can only get to at the end game and draw all of my magic and grind and grind and grind, and then I could finally beat the game.
So you played it wrong.
I didn't know you could, but yes, I completely played it wrong.
I mean, I have, huge back catalog of games on basically every PlayStation machine that I should play, but I haven't played because I'm very good at starting some game, and then I get busy with something else, and there will be several weeks of kind of not playing, and then I go back to, I want to go back to that game, and then I started, okay, I have no idea what the controls were, and I'm actually not quite sure where I am and what I'm doing at the moment, so, okay, maybe I do something else. So
that is kind of what happens. I don't know if developers really get this, but I feel like those long form games are better suited to people kind of under 30 who maybe like don't have children or like hefty jobs or something, that you can sit back and kick back and play for hours and hours. Or I don't know, some people for sure have just, that's their dedicated me time, and they'll go and play a couple hours every night. But even me at this point, I'm more likely to just pick up a roguelike game and just kind of play that through until I get bored of it, or I beat it well enough that I can go on to something else. But just something that I can pick up casually and play a couple times to get the controls back. And
sure. I mean, there are some exceptions. For example, my favorite game of all time is The Last of Us. And I also played through the second one also, and I really like that too. And then I played the God of War, the first the Norse thing. I really liked that one. And then there was the one of the RPGs, Divinity Original Sin 2. I think I spent something like a bit over 100 hours on it.
Damn.
But those are pretty much the exceptions. Other than that, I'm play a couple of hours and then I never get back to it.
Last of Us is an interesting one because I remember I didn't play it myself. I watched my partner play it, but I recall him getting kind of frustrated that it was a little bit like you couldn't play around with the situations much. That it's always, okay, someone's going to come from here, then someone's going to, like, 3 guys are going to come from here, then 2 guys are going to come from here, then 3 more are going to come from here, and it was a lot about, like, memorizing the pattern and then managing it, and I think
learning the situation. Sure.
Yeah, I think that was a little frustrating maybe, that it was more memorization than actual, like, control of your what you have on hand or things like that, and I think it got kind of frustrating. But how did you like the ending? Because I've
first one.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a testy relationship, but people are kind of spoilers probably, by the way.
But it's kind of an old game, so
yeah. But I've heard that like everyone really likes the ending, and that my problem with it, which was that Joel was his name, he didn't give the girl a choice. He just decided for her. And that bothered me, but then some people have argued that that's the point.
Yeah.
So the whole point of the game was that he robbed her of that choice. So my visceral displeasure with the ending was good and normal because that was the point.
Yeah. Personally, I think that the ending was perfect for that, because I totally understood why Joel did that, and why he did that, and how he did that. So I was, I've heard a lot of people saying that, he turned out to be the bad guy, and and all that he shouldn't have brought that possibility of a choice or that all that stuff. I was just thinking, no, he did the dad thing.
Yeah.
That was the only choice for him. He couldn't do it other way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm okay with the ending.
I mean, I might be evil because I am probably one of those people. This actually just happened in our D&D campaign when it came up that should this person be sacrificed for the greater good? And my character was like, yes, 100%.
Yep.
And the person
Cut off the head.
Yeah. The person in question was like, excuse me, my life, my agency. And I'm like, no, you're a politician. You should be caring for your people.
Yeah.
And if this saves the world, you should go.
Yeah. I understand that point, but you know, in Last of Us, it built so heavily on the Joel's kind of this trauma that he has lost her daughter and gains a new daughter.
Yeah.
And gets that emotional kind of connection, and he can't do it the other way.
Yeah.
He just simply can't.
Yeah.
And I totally understand that.
I think that's probably, there's two fatal flaws in why I didn't connect with it so well. One, I don't have biological children, and two, I didn't actually like watch all of the games, so I didn't necessarily go on Joel's journey properly.
Did you see the beginning where his daughter dies?
I don't think so. I think I kind of like.
That was hard.
He was watching, or he was playing. So
that was tough because you pick up this game. Oh, this is some zombie survival thing. Yeah, let's play this. And after about 10-15 minutes, there's the daughter dies, and you're like.
Okay.
That's pretty hard. So I think that kind of lays the groundwork of that you are emotionally invested in Joel's journey.
Yeah, that probably helps. That's actually very funny because I just played this game on the Switch. I think it's quite old at this point. It's called Ori and the Blind Forest.
Yeah, I know the game. I haven't played it, but I know it.
Magnificent soundtrack, beautiful visuals, kind of a bitchy platformer. But right at the beginning, again, spoilers, but you see that there's this kind of like big spirit tree and like a leaf blows off it, or a feather actually, weirdly enough, blows off this tree. And the tree is like calling out, come back, and this little critter that comes from the feather gets adopted by this big, happy, squishy sweetheart of a creature. And it like just, and then I don't know if it's supposed to be that because the tree lost this feather, the whole forest dies, or I don't remember why the forest started dying. Maybe it was the owl. I don't remember. But one way or the other, just the beginning of this game is showing like this sweet this fellow whose name I forget adopts Ori as its own, and you see them like going picking fruit together and their cute little home, and then
this is the whole game.
The world. This is the first 5 minutes or so. The world is dying around, and then you see like, oh, they have to go further for food, and then just this one day the big one comes back with food and gives it to Ori, and then goes and dies in the corner, and then Ori's trying to find food on their own and is so like sad, and then goes off and dies also. And you're just like,
okay, good times. Yeah.
This is the beginning.
I hope this is not the good part.
Yeah, it does have a nice ending, and you find out that the owl is much more sympathetic than it seems, and I don't know, it kind of gives the impression that the tree was a little bit the bad guy in the end. I don't know if it intended to, but it's a great game for atmosphere and things like that, but just a really devastating beginning.
Really cheerful thing to go that.
Yeah, I'm not sure just from the game mechanics, because it's one of those games where you have to like succeed in a lot of like like escape sequences
yeah,
a bunch
yeah.
of times.
Yeah.
That don't fuck up once.
Yeah, that water level is rising or some shit like that.
Exactly.
Oh, jeez, I hate those. I'm so bad at those.
So there's definitely some moments where probably the neighbors could hear me swearing because I'm sitting here just.
I mean, I hate that, and also when you have a timer. That is, when I see that on a game, I said, nope,
and
not going to do that.
The sound designers are always evil because they give that music that's makes you just fills you with visceral anxiety as you're playing. And
I actually liked The Last of Us partly also because you could just sneak into some corner and like you said that you basically know that which amount of enemies will come and where, but you can be at some point and some spot and just think that, okay, how will I approach it this time? So you can kind of take your time and then there will be the violent scene, but you can kind of take your time to plan it. I hate that you are brushed through things.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, and I always get shaky and like I'm like, I don't know if I actually enjoy feeling like this when I play video games. Like, this is my escapism. That's why I was just complaining about House of the Dragon the other day. So I was just like, no, this is just politics. This is just the real world. This is not what I want from my escapism. More dragons, less terrible people being terrible, please. But that's what Westeros is.
Yeah, and especially it's a lot better than the Game of Thrones, the couple of last seasons. That was dog shit. That was horrible.
It's one of my favorite things to ask people about, just like, on the scale of it was fine and it was the worst thing I've ever seen, where do you fall on the Game of Thrones scale?
You mean the ending or the whole thing?
Generally, like, the last few seasons, I think.
I watched them through, so it's not the worst thing there is, because otherwise I wouldn't watch it. But it was disappointing. I mean, there's no way around it. You definitely see where the source material stops, and then we are in okay, we have to figure this shit out ourselves, and that shows.
Yeah, I think you can also tell really heftily that the showrunners didn't care anymore at that point. They had, was it some like Civil War show, I think, that they wanted to make? Someone told me it was Star Wars, but
yeah, I heard about the Star Wars stuff, that they were kind of signed for some Star Wars movie stuff or TV series or something, so they wanted to wrap it up.
Yeah, and they should have just given it off to someone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's probably an ego thing.
But if I'm totally honest, probably George R.R. Martin should give the story to someone else too, because I don't think we're gonna see the end of it.
Yeah,
we have been
keeps
waiting.
Getting older.
Yeah, we have been waiting the last book for what, 7-8 years?
No, I can. If I think hard enough, I can clock back. I think it's been more than 10 years at this point, because I so clearly remember, like, I was working back then and as a cleaner, and I had brought the book with me to work, and I had finished it up and thought, just, it's gonna be probably 8 years until I get to read what happens next, and that is just depressing. And it's, at this point, I'm like, God, it's been fucking 11 years or something.
Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. I probably just blacked out a few years in the middle.
COVID doesn't count. Those years didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely love the books. I mean, I think I first saw a couple of episodes of the first season on television, and then I just kind of stopped and went to a library and borrowed the first book and started reading. And I really liked the books, but that's the tough part, because I don't think we get to the end of it. So
yeah, and that's like this is the exact reason why I don't like soap operas, because there was a vague point in my teenage years when I was really into romance and stuff, where I thought this one insane soap opera was really interesting, but I need a conclusion to a story, and these soap operas just trail off. They're as bad as comic books sometimes.
Yeah.
These like long-term Marvel series or whatever that he's just like, are you ever gonna get together? Because if you're not, I don't care anymore.
Or are you getting together again?
Or is that your evil twin? Or are you going to be resurrected from the dead?
Yeah,
and there's
absolutely.
just no kind of ever end to it.
And I think that is kind of the point, you know,
Yeah.
they just grind it out so long as they can.
It's like trolling in the old sense of fishing, not, you know, internet trolling, but, you know, you're just dangling the line and zooming your boat around and just watching the fish trail after you the whole time. I am no fish. I need endings to my stories.
I'm not a number. I'm a free man.
But I would have liked his honest opinion on the ending of the show, because of course no one wants to be the guy who shit talks the people who made their show, but as someone who writes, I don't think I could have handled what if that was my story. If someone butchered my story that badly, I would have a hard time not absolutely tearing those people apart.
I mean, there might be some reasons.
Yeah.
He's keeping quiet. But I'm wondering the same thing. Also, I'm thinking about how much, because I don't think that he knows how the story will end. I mean, there will probably be some broad strokes, but how much he has been paying attention what the you know the comments have been, and how much he could kind of pull that.
That's what I've always said, and I know some people feel weird about that, but like, there's a reason that I had to stop watching, for example, Super Carlin Brothers on YouTube, because I love those guys. They're like these kind of young geek brothers who they talk about like Disney, MCU, Star Wars, lots of things I love. So I loved watching them, and I had to stop because their theories were too good. Their theories were better than the actual shows. And the big one was the newest Star Wars trilogy. That they had this theory that Kylo Ren was actually like on the side of good, and he was kind of deep undercover, or like not even working for someone else, but like he was trying to get close to the dark side for a reason. And that moment where he kills Han Solo is, spoilers, sorry if you haven't seen the new trilogy, but that moment, the way it's framed and everything, you can kind of, I think it was unclear who actually hits the button that turns on the lightsaber. So it could have been Han himself killing himself to prevent his son from going to the dark side even deeper and trying to like save him. And it was a great theory, and there was a whole lot more to it. I haven't watched it in years, so I don't remember. But and then I'd go and watch the movie, and I was just like, yeah, this is garbage. This doesn't even have a coherent plot.
Yeah.
So random kids on the internet are basically doing better than professional Hollywood writers, and I am an unemployed writer, so this kind of hurts me in my tender spots. Like. I've also seen some videos that people are kind of rewriting the movie, that what it actually means. They're much better than the actual movies. Yeah, the Darth Jar Jar theory from the second trilogy was also great. Because,
what is that? I haven't heard of that.
Oh my goodness, this is fabulous. This was that Jar Jar Binks was actually a Sith the entire time. And there's so many things in the movies that would like check out with this, that, you know, like there's some point where he gets startled and does like a backflip up onto a balcony or something. That's a Jedi move. And there's some moments where he kind of just gets serious and maybe like convinces people of something. That's a Jedi move. Or Sith, I suppose. And there's just like a few of these moments, and he's the one who actually fucks everything in the second movie for the Jedi. It was fully him going into the like Senate or whatever it is, and making some suggestion that, like, absolutely fucks the Jedi. It was all his fault.
Oh.
And they would have fully, like, redeemed that terrible character if he had just been a Sith the whole time, but...
That would have been so cool.
Nope. Nope.
Nope. Well, you know, hopefully there won't be many movies of that franchise.
That's the problem. It's so oversaturated now. Like,
What about the TV shows? Have you watched them? Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and...
I've only seen Andor, weirdly enough.
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian's been on my list for a couple of years now, but we promised to watch it with some friends, so we just haven't gotten around to doing it yet. Okay. But everyone says it's great. Everyone says it's going to hit me right in the found family part of me.
Okay.
But I've heard pretty much exclusively good things about it.
Okay.
Andor was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I think, like, for a series that was based off some dude who dies in some movie, like, this is what I mean by it getting oversaturated, because the first 3 episodes were just like, okay, yeah, but why do we care about this dude? Or anything else, really. Like, sure, but...
He has a cute accent, so...
Yeah, it's what, he's just kind of... He's Spanish or something?
Something like that, yeah.
So, but, surprisingly, actually, I was quite impressed with that show because I was convinced that the entire season was going to be about the heist, and the heist is over after halfway, and then it just completely went somewhere else. And I'll take anything where I can't predict the outcome. So.
That's true. Yeah, I actually like it too, but I'm not sure if it's actually a Star Wars thing because it's so different. But I really like the idea that the rebels are not this, good people. That they actually, spoiler alert, they are willing to kind of kill their own if they are kind of jeopardized.
Yeah.
So
I'd have made a good rebel because I'll sacrifice the one for the many.
Kill them all. No. Do some. But in that sense, it was refreshing, and I've also seen the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian, and it's okay. I mean, it's nothing, I'm not very passionate about. It's, okay, this is the way. Okay, that is the way, sure, okay. But it's okay.
Yeah, I think part of the thing for me is that I've never actually been really that into Star Wars. So I like Star Wars. I appreciate Star Wars. Original trilogy, those are classics. I'll watch them anytime, sure, but they're not my favorites, I'm not Ted from How I Met Your Mother who watches them all the time whenever he's sad or happy or bored or anything. That's actually don't even know what that would be for me at this point. But
I mean, there has to be some. There are some liberties. It's not very realistic stuff. You put a 6-7-year-old kid in some sort of rocket thing and go erased and probably get killed there. So okay, I'm not sure if that's good parenting or something, right?
Just use the Force.
Use the Force, Lou. Yeah, but it's kind of sad that it has gone that way. The whole Star Wars franchise, and there's a whole lot of kind of grumbling on the internet about various things, but some of those are, kind of valid points.
Yeah, it's a bit the same with the MCU. Like, I loved that conceptually at the beginning of having this whole cinematic universe. You get to tease something at the end of a movie. I love the way they set it up. The first movies weren't that great. Iron Man's fine. Hated the first 2 Thor movies. I thought they were unbearable. The first time I have watched them finally. The first time I tried to watch Thor, I got about 10 minutes in and I was just like, oh no. No, I like actual Norse mythology too much. This is dumb. But I got over my snobbery a little bit. And
I mean, there's kind of that tried to do the Jack Kirby art style thing in the Thor, so in the first one, so it's like kind of this weird kind of polished and gleaming, and what's that?
Yeah, I think it was maybe like the visual stylings of the like Norse gods that kind of snuck into that nerd rage part of my brain and was like, no, Norse.
Yeah.
Norse stuff.
Yeah.
Not shiny sci-fi helmets and stuff. Norse stuff.
With wings on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
But yeah, I definitely. I'm one of those people who actually likes the newer Thor movies just because they make me laugh.
Oh,
They're dumb as hell, but
they are dumb as hell.
They make me laugh.
Actually, I'm not a huge fan of those. I mean, for example, you know, I'm also like the Norse stuff, you know, the original Norse stuff, and you know, this Thor who's this kind of like this, I mean, it's too jokey and too sci-fi and too. That's like, what is this? What does this have to do with actual Norse mythology?
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything to do.
Well, I don't read the comics, but how much do the comics have to do with actual Norse mythology either?
You know, the latest Thor movie had the kind of the, you know, the god butcher or something like that. You know, the bad guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because these new MCU movies, I watch them and then I completely forget the plot afterwards because they're not very memorable.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah, he's the god.
Christian Bale.
Yeah, the god killer. Was that Christian Bale?
Yeah.
Oh, they dressed him up nice.
Actually, I've read the comics, and that is really good story. It's kind of very dark story, and kind of it's much more emotional and much more, it hits much harder. And there's this, you know, several kind of versions of Thor himself. There's old Thor and so on and so on, and it's very interesting story actually, and it's gorgeously illustrated. So I was kind of interested in, they are taking that to a movie. Yes, that would be good. And then it's Taika Waititi. Oh shit, please no. And then it's all just idiot jokes and like, oh, what the hell is this?
I think that was kind of my biggest problem with, which was the Ragnarok? Was the first of the Taika Waititi ones that...
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, no, I forget what I was going to say. But
it will come to you later.
But, yeah, like, my problem was that, like, when there were serious moments, those moments weren't given any space. So, you know, their father dies, spoilers, their father dies, and they sit there and they're like, and then their sister shows up and it's just chaos again, and there's never any space for grief over this. And you know, it was basically the relationship with their father that they were fighting about in the beginning. Yeah. Anyways, so
I mean, there are even kind of worse examples when there are some emotional moment, and then there's a joke immediately.
Right after.
Like, why?
Yeah.
What was the point? I mean, yeah, sure, you do this jokey stuff, sure, but could you please just
take something seriously?
Please. Yeah.
And that comes back around to why I kind of lost interest in the MCU was possibly unpopular opinion. I think Endgame absolutely ruined everything they did in Infinity War. And once again, shout out to the Super Collin brothers who had a way better theory as to how that should have ended. They had this whole theory about that wherever the Bifrost took them, where Hulk was and Jeff Goldblum, who was just being Jeff Goldblum, but, wherever that was, seemed to exist outside of like the actual universe because of the time dilation and all of that sort of stuff. So their theory was that like the way things from Infinity War could have been resolved tied into the second Ant-Man movie where he's going into the quantum realm. And the theory was that this, was it Sakaar or was it something else? I'm trying to remember the name of the Colosseum place where world, the junk world.
Yeah. I don't remember, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, the theory was that place was in the quantum realm, and that resources could be farmed in the quantum realm to be sent back out into the universe, and that Thanos could even be redeemed and put in charge of this. And it would have been really interesting, I think, to see how that would have played out. That rather than doing this, like, time jump stuff, that Ant-Man could have been taking them through the quantum realm and doing something with that. I thought that was a brilliant idea. And also the theories that Hulk was not dead, or what was that? Hulk, because you don't know what happens to the Hulk at the end of Thor Ragnarok.
True.
But then just suddenly, like, Banner's back on Earth, and he knows things that Bruce Banner should not know. When he comes back and starts saying, like, Tony Stark, like, shit's going down, he starts spewing a bunch of stuff that there's no way Bruce Banner should know, or at very least there's no way Hulk should know, because Hulk has been gone for 2 years. Yeah. And his brief time outside with Thor, he shouldn't have learned any of this. So, like, I don't even know if Hulk should even actually, like, know who Thanos is. And he comes in and he's like, Thanos is coming, guys, we're so fucked. And then Hulk won't come out.
Yeah.
And also, he gets kicked around a little too much for Hulk. Like, Hulk is indestructible.
Yeah,
so,
that's true. At least
like,
in the comics.
Yeah. And they never explained why Hulk wouldn't come out. It makes sense because Bruce Banner was Loki in disguise the whole time. So when Thanos kills Loki on the spaceship at the beginning, that was another trick. And Loki was probably disguised, or at that point maybe, like, Banner has gone off with Valkyrie, because she wasn't there also at the beginning of Infinity War. So those two would be off somewhere else. Banner on the ship is actually Loki in disguise. He gets kicked around an acceptable amount for his power level, which is still crazy high, but not indestructible Hulk high. So everything starts to make sense. Loki knows all about Thanos. He used to work for him. Like, this and that. It all makes sense. Why won't Hulk come out? Because Loki can't actually summon Hulk's power. So it all starts to make sense, but nope. It was just as it was. No secrets, nothing special there. And again, I hated Endgame so much that I had to say, I'm sorry, Super Carlin Brothers, I love you guys, but I can't do this anymore. Your videos are better than the actual stories.
But why is it so bad? What's the main problem? Time jumping?
Endgame, I just didn't like how they had this amazing villain. I loved Thanos as a villain because he's one of those dudes who kind of thinks he's being the bad guy for good reasons. Like, the world is fucked, like, this needs to be fixed, and I'm the only one who can do it. You know, a little bit of hubris and all that, but ultimately good intentions. And then you just immediately chop him and go back to a less evolved, earlier version of him that's much more two-dimensional.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's just, fight bad guy, everyone get together, swords, rah, big fight scene, bro stuff.
Yeah. And actually I was thinking that this would be a good thing for the universe, but now I'm just bad, I want to destroy everything and create a new one.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I get the point. Yeah, sure.
So I really found that disappointing, and maybe I wouldn't have been so disappointed if I hadn't heard all these wonderful, like, stories that I actually liked. So that was why I stopped watching the theories, because they ruined Star Wars, which frankly was probably going to be ruined anyways, because it was just not good. But yeah, Endgame just really let me down because they came up with this really nuanced, interesting ending, and then I got a really two-dimensional one that was just flashing lights and fight scenes. And
that was actually quite interesting. That I think Thanos was the first and the only good villain the MCU has done. I don't, pretty much everyone else has been quite forgettable.
Yeah, I remember hearing, was it even maybe George R.R. Martin who was saying that, like, part of the reason a lot of these movies are kind of uninteresting, and maybe I think this was something that was said before Avengers came out as well, because in Iron Man it's just Iron Man versus other Iron Man, and in Thor it's just Thor versus other god, and even if you get into the newer ones, Black Panther is just Black Panther versus Black Panther. It's always like we have more or less the same power-ish, and
sure.
now we fight. And that's why I think Avengers was so fun, because you got to have those like nerd fights that everyone was, who would win, Thor or Hulk, and you got to play with that a little bit, and it was very fun. But yeah, I don't know, they just kind of, it's too much now. I can't remember most of it. Like we watched what?
I mean, how many movies has it been?
Too many.
It has been.
And then there's all the shows. I think Peggy Carter was pretty good. I watched that, and that was.
Actually, I haven't watched that. I watched WandaVision.
WandaVision we watched. That was weird, but okay.
I like the idea of different kind of sitcoms or TV shows. That was a cool idea visually. Yeah. But then in the end it was kind of like, okay, for what reason? It was just a gimmick.
Yeah. Basically, like, I don't know that, like, it actually made any sense that, like, this woman was doing this.
Yeah.
Like, you're, like, crazy powerful, and your way of dealing with grief is to kidnap a city and make it into a sitcom. Like, what? Like, this sounds like you came up with an idea and then really tried to make it work. Yeah, like, sure. Story-wise. And
maybe you should talk to someone.
Yeah, like, so, therapy.
Yeah. Actually, you mentioned the interesting ideas that, the Black Panther, kind of the Wakanda as a society, is this amazing science and all that, and they choose their king by fighting. I mean, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, not like
let's fight to the death. Okay, that will probably end up, with the guy who is the best and most qualified and most smart.
Yeah, really going back to like the old school tribal ways. It was like you're very evolved, like, culture, but you're still quite heathenistic in this
bunch of guys who are dressed as gorillas. Okay, and they go like, woo, sure, okay, that sounds smart.
Yeah.
So it was. Yeah, I like the combo. I like the idea of this African culture and very advanced and science and all that kind of science fiction stuff.
Yeah.
Science fantasy. But then when you start thinking about it too hard, it's like, okay, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I also kind of felt that his girlfriend probably, I feel this in a lot of movies, like, his girlfriend probably should have been in charge in the end. I felt that also in How to Train Your Dragon 2. I was like, like, she wants this and is good at it. Like, you could just let her be leader.
But it's not a dude, so you can't do it.
In this day and age, you still can't let your girlfriend be king. What the fuck?
Yeah. But, the MCU, it's not maybe the most kind of logical stuff, so...
No. And, I will be forgiving. Like, not everything needs to make sense, and there's always going to be different things that bother different people, but I think it's just, now it's gotten too oversaturated that I feel like I have to watch too many things for it to make sense, and I was resilient for a good long while with this. I was like, you know what? I don't need to watch all of the shows. I'll watch the ones that are interesting. Yeah, no, it's I think they started to lose me when... I'm trying to think what the guy's name is. He had some controversy in recent years, so he's kind of the Buffy guy. Wasn't he doing movies for a while? And then he got... I can't remember his name. But, just kind of around then, it was just starting to be like, this is getting popular, this is getting big, so let's just... More is more!
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we all know that Yngwie Malmsteen's albums are a little too much, because more is not more.
That is true. Yeah, then I think the recent movies have been quite of forgettable, and in some way they are kind of shallow. For example, I mentioned the latest Ant-Man movie. I basically don't remember anything except that there was one character who looked like a broccoli. So and that's about it. And they were mucking about in the quantum realm, and then there was a Kang the Conqueror or whatever, and he should be the next bad guy if he doesn't go to jail in real life. So it's kind of up in the air, so I'm not sure if I'm very invested in that. I kind of wish that they would kind of just focus on X-Men, because that was nice. Always my favorite as Marvel comics. I mean, back in the day, Avengers were like, who?
Yeah.
I mean, as comics, there were nobodies.
Yeah.
There was this bunch of people that kind of varied from comic to comic, and there was West Coast Avengers and East Coast Avengers, and who gives a Avengers, and then there was the X-Men, and those are the cool guys. So I wish they would do something with those.
Yeah.
Again.
I've been wondering, like, how long is it till, like, Sony doesn't have the rights to Spider-Man and X-Men anymore? The Spider-Man movies have been the only ones that have been keeping me on. I think I've solidly enjoyed all 3 Spider-Man movies. I thought they were all really good.
They have been doing really good job. Actually, all the Spider-Man movies have done a really good job of casting the main character. Tom Holland is very
best Peter Parker yet.
Yeah.
So good. He actually feels like a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Andrew Garfield was just kind of annoying. So the whole, like, his vibe is kind of like if Zooey Deschanel was a boy, and that, like, I have real hard time with Zooey Deschanel because she's kind of always the same character in everything. And I got through New Girl, and that was the best I could do for her. But Andrew Garfield gives me that same kind of vibe as her that I just find. It's supposed to be quirky and cute, but I mostly just find it annoying.
Yeah.
So,
it's the same manners, all the roles.
Yeah, like in real life, you would be liked by people. I feel like just for being funny and relatively good looking, and you're trying to play you off as a loser. Nah, don't buy it. Sorry. But
what about the Spider-Verse movies? Have you seen those?
I've only seen the first one, but that was brilliant. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I loved like what they did with Spider-Girl, and I loved that was actually one of the guys from New Girl, now that I think of it, who's like, I love Peter Parker the schlub.
Yeah.
Just absolutely delightful to see this just like fat, out of shape Peter Parker, but who's still Spider-Man and still as good at things as Spider-Man. He just doesn't really put in any effort anymore.
Yeah. So you haven't seen that?
I haven't seen the new one.
No. Okay.
But it's on the list.
It's visually gorgeous. I mean, they are playing even more with the varying styles. But so I won't spoil anything. But I liked it quite a bit. And the first one was kind of really. It was something new, so it was really great.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
And I love what they've been doing with the Spider-Man movies, that like they seem to actually be listening to people and being like, we know what his deal is. We don't need his backstory anymore. We know with great power comes great responsibility, and someone dies and blah blah blah. But I've made a really specific point to stop watching MCU trailers because of Thor Ragnarok. Because I think what should have been the greatest reveal in that movie was ruined by the trailer, which was Hulk being in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
I know that I would have shit a brick if I had seen that on screen, but I knew it was coming because it was in the trailers.
Yeah, but it was the funniest scene, so they had to show it.
Yeah. So after that, I swore no more MCU trailers.
Yeah.
And so, the newest MCU Spider-Man movie, with all the actors, full surprise to me.
Okay.
So as soon as Willem Dafoe showed up on screen, I was like, grabbed the person next to me. I was like, oh my fucking god! If the Green Goblin takes off his mask and that's Willem Dafoe, I am going to lose my shit. And it takes off the mask and it's Willem Dafoe, and I'm full body madness. And then
I wish I could be, you know, as kind of focused as you, that I would avoid them, but I can't.
Oh, and then when Tobey Maguire came out,
Yeah.
oh, I was gone at that point. I was so happy that plot did not matter at that point. I was just so thrilled that they did this.
Yeah.
That I was just, yes, more, pour it all over me. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So.
That was a good movie. Yeah.
And then the whole thing with Mysterio in the second one at the end, just absolutely gut-wrenching. They kind of maybe didn't, like, it was maybe a little bit of a letdown how they just, that was like a whole devastating thing, and then the J. Jonah Jameson reveal was so good. And then in the next movie they're just like, yeah, it's so, like, we went to court, you're fine, you're in trouble, but it's not really a thing, and then that's, like, not a thing after, like, 5 minutes.
Yeah, and people recognize you on the street, okay, so whatever. So that's it.
Yeah, so it has its ups and downs, but I did still enjoy it on the whole as a movie, and that, like, that one scene where there's, like, he's just, like, so overcome with grief, and then the other Peters start saying that, like, I lost my aunt, and I lost my girlfriend, and they all just have this, like, moment of, like, multiversal connection and everything, and I was just like, yeah.
That is
Good
kind of
job,
interesting.
Peters.
Yeah, that's also one of the main points in the Spider-Verse movies, that it's kind of like that they have to go, the Spider-Man has to go through this cycle. And they are aware of it, and they are kind of acknowledging each other. That, okay, for you it has been this, and for me it was that. And it's kind of interesting kind of take. I think feels like it kind of creates a mythology.
Yeah.
It's kind of very kind of like North mythology stuff, that it's something, it's a story that repeats over and over again.
There was actually a really brilliant season. I'll usually once an episode pitch Dimension 20's Dungeons and Dragons seasons, because they do such a good job of like, it's basically they're all comedy improv actors. They're all from College Humor, and this is their subscription service. They have this, one of their more recent seasons was called Never After, and it was the horror season set in Never After or Ever After or something, but like in the happily ever after where shit starts going down, and the characters throughout the season, you have like Sleeping Beauty, Pinocchio, lots of different like famous fairy tale people. Puss in Boots, I think, was one. The Frog Prince. I'm trying to think. There's 6 of them, and that's as many as I can come up with off the top of my head. But it's all about exploring like your story and what it means. And so the different factions that they're fighting against, there's like darkness and the destruction of Ever After. And then there's like kind of the princess collective of, you know, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty is one of the player characters, but Cinderella, Rapunzel, who are trying to destroy their stories so that they can, like, be free. But a lot of the main characters are trying to gain control over their own stories. So Sleeping Beauty's whole thing is, like, it would be great to fall in love and find true love, but I would love to... My story is just things happening to me and I have no agency. I would love to have agency in my story. And it's this wonderful, twisted, messed up thing where the stepmother is one of the main villains, and she's so good because her story is that she discovers that she doesn't even have a name in most stories. And so she goes to Baba Yaga and asks for some sort of power, and she just starts like ripping chunks out of people's stories and eating them and becoming this horrible monstrosity, and it's so cool. It's just so brilliantly done.
So what is this?
It's Dungeons and Dragons. It's a Dungeons and Dragons actual play, so it's all live improvised and based off die rolls.
Cool.
It's so good.
I mean, I've been watching and listening to Critical Role for quite some while, but
this is much more accessible than Critical Role because they are like actual seasons. They do Game of Thrones in Candyland, which is brilliant. One of my cats is named after one of the characters. He's Teddy, but he's Theobald Gumbar, which is a gummy bear knight, and he's the very like stoic, loyal to the crown kind of dude. And,
oh, that sounds wonderful.
And it's so good. Oh, like I think a few characters die, and it's real Game of Thrones, and oh my goodness, just the emotional roller coaster. It's full Game of Thrones, like the best of Game of Thrones, but just in Candyland. Your character might be a cake with legs, just like a slice of cake, or like a classic like bottle of milk or something like that. It's brilliant. They just did a prequel season that had Matt Mercer DMing, and he's guest. A lot of the Critical Role folks guest on Dimension 20 a lot, and Mercer did an amazing job of this season. Because he had to take like all of the other GM's lore, and like this was a prequel, so everything they did in this season had to make sense for no matter what the die rolls are. It still has to make sense per what happened in the original season, and he did it just magnificently. Shout out to Matt Mercer. That guy's just so good at what he does.
I mean, no pressure to any people who try to DM after someone says that, hey, I've watched Critical Role, I want to play D&D, you'll be the DM. Oh shit. I'm up against Matt Mercer.
Yeah, just small shoes to fill. But Brennan Lee Mulligan is the GM of Dimension 20, and he's as good easily. Mercer's been on. He played one of my favorite characters in Escape from the Bloodkeep, which was Lord of the Rings, but from the bad guy's perspective, which is so fun. He's playing like an insecure ring wraith. So fun. It's just like, okay, so we're supposed to return the crown to the king, but we cannot find it. And no, you've done such a good job. This is not a failure just on you. It's a failure on all of us. Like, just this hilarious interactions from ring wraiths. And what was he's got some like weird Dark Lord name, and then his actual name is like Lehman.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean there are quite a few D&D shows that are on YouTube or on streaming services or wherever that are really good, and I think that they are getting the popularity of the game up again.
Yeah, so it's nice. I
think good.
I'm still waiting, and maybe I need to get on this train and do it myself, which is a tentative plan of mine. But other systems, doing actual plays in other systems, because I don't play Pathfinder. My partner plays Pathfinder. I play Zweihander and Merkborg, and Zweihander is great because everything that I don't like about D&D isn't part of Zweihander at all. So it's a D100 system. You're rolling under percentages, things like that. So it's still complicated and different, but a lot more customizable, kind of like Pathfinder, I think. And then you've got these other systems as well. That there's so many different systems for different types of players. Like I've actually Mouse Guard. I love this dude's artwork. It's absolutely brilliant. I don't like the game system because it doesn't involve a lot of role play. It's more tactics, and I'm bad at that stuff. So
is that based on a comic?
I'm not sure if the comic is based on the game or the game is based on the comic, but
I think I have one or two albums at home of the comic.
Yeah, I love his artwork. It's
Yeah.
just spectacular. But our campaign didn't last very long. I think one dad had to drop out, and then another dad had to drop out, and then there was 2 of us left, and we didn't really know how to play the game, so kind of fizzled out. But wasn't, again, I'm no tactician whatsoever, so that's why in my writing I don't do a lot of tactical anything, because I'm just bad at it. So, but I love Zweihander. It's just a very, like, free kind of, like, it's not hard to make your character fit properly. Whereas with D&D, you always have to customize a lot and things like that. So
I mean,
actually, really nice.
Actually, I think that in D&D, beyond what it does well is the character creation.
Really?
It makes it really much easier because
I didn't like it.
I mean, I do like it in that sense that if you are just having a book and you have to create a character, and there's so many options, and for example, nowadays even subclasses, there's millions of subclasses and stuff like that, and then everything kind of affects everything. So I kind of like to have a kind of this click thing that, okay, I want to be this, and then it tells you, okay, you have to choose 2 spells from here, and then it adds this and that. So I kind of like the idea that you can do it online in a simple kind of understandable way, even though you are not so much into the rules.
Yeah, I think my problem with it is that it's still a money grub. So
sure.
You can't customize anything, and you can't pull stuff from other places unless you've bought all of the books on D&D Beyond. So that was my problem, is that we'd always have maybe like something from Eberron thrown in there, or maybe like a little something special from some module. And you can't customize it unless you have bought the book in there, and like, why can't I just write down what my sword and its stats are? No, I have to have some like pre-made sword from somewhere, and if it's not in actual D&D books, then I have to pay for the book that it's from.
Yeah.
And
I mean, there must be some nerd who has done some sort of similar kind of thing where you could just create your characters without buying the books.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Someone out there has a market.
Yeah, but it's that has been for me the kind of the it's the most interesting and most kind of difficult part in creating the character.
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
for it, if it has, for example, for D&D, I think there are much better systems for just if you want to just role play.
Yeah.
So much easier, but with D&D, all the stats and all the +3 and +2 and whatever. And
yeah, I think with Mörkborg you only have something like 4 stats, and they're all pretty simple, and really, like, you're probably just gonna die. So you don't need to like worry too much about your character. Like, I've lost 2 characters. I already mentioned last episode, but I've lost 2 characters in there. I actually need to roll a new one of these days. Yeah. They always die in fabulously wonderful ways, though, so I don't mind losing my characters. You have to really get over that my precious character mindset to really enjoy role-playing. My D&D character is an absolute maniac, so it's very fun to, like, go into that skin of, like, here's me, but with some of my stoppers taken off. Like me, but I'm allowed to be a little more crazy.
I think that is one of the main draws of the whole role-playing stuff, that you can be something you kind of interested of being, but you can't be.
Yeah. The main thing with that character is just she's extremely confrontational, and I'm working on it. I'm not comfortable with confrontation. It's something I've been working on for a long time now, and I'm still not great at it. I'm better. But this character just, like, also, she's not always, like, right about stuff, that, so she can go off on people and then be totally wrong as well, which is Like, I don't go off on people a lot of the time in case I'm wrong, because I don't want to be that guy who just spouted off at someone and then actually you're the douchebag. So I don't tend to spout off on people. But this character just absolutely mouths off anyone who pisses her off. And it's a weird safe space for me to kind of, like, explore how that feels.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is one of the main kind of things in role-playing games. I mean, I think that people either create characters that are themselves, just a little bit enhanced, or they create characters that are close to opposite, that they want to kind of explore something.
Yeah.
So there's kind of this interesting. I usually play kind of, characters like me, in a way. So. That is kind of my thing.
I think there's always going to be a little part of you in there somewhere.
Of course, yeah. That makes a good role playing, because you can relate to, you can tap into something in yourself, so you can just flow with it. So.
Yeah, my first D&D character was a Dragonborn torture artist, and I know for sure I kind of messed up playing him in the beginning because he was too nice. There's too much of me in him, but I've mentioned before, he was not fun to play. You should never play a loner in D&D. You should always play someone who works well on a team, because when you get into role play and you're trying to be Aragorn who just sits in the corner grumpily and nods, like, it's not fun. And it's really not fun. So you have to play someone who is willing to engage with others. And so I've mentioned, I think even in last episode, that I just got bored because I would want to contribute, Amy the person, and then I would just be like, yeah, but my character...
he wouldn't say anything.
Would just sit in the corner and brood gloomily and not give a shit. So, like,
you have to just explain how he or she is brooding there.
Yeah.
At length. I think my first character was a dwarf. That was back in the day when dwarf was a class. So it was way back. I think there was something like 13 at the time.
Oh. What edition would you have been playing of the game back then?
That was, there was the Finnish translation of the original red box.
Okay.
Back in the day, and I bought it because at that time I was quite heavily invested in Lord of the Rings, and I think I saw an ad in was it Microbit or some other magazine that has computer games and so on, and there was this little ad about some company called Tudera, and there was just little drawing of this hooded character on kneeled on the floor, and there was some dice on front of him, and there might have been a dagger or sword or something like that, and I was looking at it. Oh, that looks like Lord of the Rings. That is some sort of game. You can order it. Okay, so I ordered the books, and I read through them, and I didn't understand shit about those. Like, what? There's this weird shaped dice. Okay, these are nice. And I read those rules, and okay, they really don't make any sense to me. So I kind of understood that there's something cool in there, but I just couldn't grasp it, because for me board games was throwing the dice and moving front.
Candyland.
Yeah. 6 steps or 3 steps, and then you pick a card. Oh, let's go to this place. So I understood that there's something cool, but I just couldn't get it. So I put the rule books away, and then at school I heard a friend of a friend mention that he had heard about this game, and it would be so cool to kind of try it. So I went to him and said, like, okay, I have the rule books, so we have a deal. I lend them to you, and then you read it through and understand it, because he was a nerd, so he was much more math based and so on. And when you understand the rules, I get invited to the group. So we made a deal, and then we played, I think, through my from 7th grade to 9th grade and up to the lukio, couple of years. So it was something like 3-4 years every week. It was amazing.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, I think that most of my teenage memories are actually from the game. So,
yeah, that actually didn't happen. That just happened to my character.
Yeah, but that was so cool. Kind of just the kind of this camaraderie that was also outside the game, because I was kind of getting into their their group. I wasn't. What's that?
That's Discord.
Yeah. So it was they weren't actually my friends. They were kind of friend of a friend. So I got adopted to that group. They were a couple of years older than me. So we were hanging out. So that was cool. But also in the game, the camaraderie in the game. That was amazing. That there was this moments that okay, you open the door and you see the dragon, and then everyone's like, okay, time out, time for cigarettes. Because a couple of those guys were smoking, so we went to outside and strategize and how to approach this thing. So it was so cool. It was so cool to kind of grow up into that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so jealous because I think, like in that era of my life, I was in that weird high school phase where I didn't really like anyone I went to high school with because I didn't have anything in common with them, because I was a female nerd and I was a metalhead. And in hillbilly Alberta, Canada, you don't find a lot of female nerds or metalheads in general. I might get lucky and find someone who's got like an Iron Maiden or an Ozzy Osbourne t-shirt, and that's the best you'll get. So I didn't have a lot of friends who shared my taste in things. So that's why I guess I went home and wrote stories all the time, is because I wanted to exist in worlds that interested in me. And so all of my old stories are like prequels to Ocarina of Time, or like my own Final Fantasy, like many storied series of just really basic, like find party, go to place, solve puzzle, fight boss, proceed, like really basic stories. But that's where I lived because I didn't have friends to share this with or people to play D&D with or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. For me, it was quite the same, that I was kind of an outsider. So it was cool to find the group.
Yeah.
And also kind of, I mean, just to bond and create also these stories, because I think that in a way I think I've heard someone tell that when you play role-playing games, it kind of activates the parts of your brain that kind of makes those memories actually like real memories. So it's kind of different than when you are reading a book.
Yeah, because you're living it yourself. Like,
so in some way it kind of cheats your brain to think that you are actually living this story.
Yeah.
So the memories are stored in some other place than, for example, if you read a book.
Oh, that's really interesting. But that makes sense. It's like, even just our last session playing Curse of Strahd, my character got so mad that the person, was like shaking in my chair. I was just like, high on adrenaline and just like, and I'm like, wait, like, calm down. This isn't actually happening to you. The consequences of this interaction are zero in real life. Deep breath. Okay. But like a very, very physical reaction to just what a blind rage my character was in.
So it's actually very amazing idea, the whole concept of this kind of this make believe with some sort of rule system that is really exceptional. Yeah,
I love it. It's my new favorite thing, and it's really ruining RPG games for me. So we're currently playing Octopath Traveler, and I really like everything about the game except for the fact that all of the story and all of the characters are... It's even a stretch to call them two-dimensional. They're basically one-dimensional. And I don't hate it because you've got these brilliant characters like the ruler who wants to serve his people, the capitalist who wants to end poverty, the dancer who thinks the purpose of stars or celebrities essentially is to bring joy to people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like the good versions of all of like the bad people out there, and I love to see it, but like, oh, the story is so bad. I have legitimately called lines like word for word before they come up.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But otherwise, just a really fabulous game. I'm really enjoying everything about it, and the role-playing game system is great. So it's very nostalgic, classic Final Fantasy. I guess you haven't played those, but from before Final Fantasy VII, essentially. Like the real classic. Didn't necessarily have the deepest stories, but were still really fun, and definitely got that vibe. And the art is amazing because it's got this combination of like the bit art and then this like polygon backgrounds and everything. So it looks really cool. They do these perspective shifts and everything that you can never do with 2D bit art. It's really cool.
I mean, that's kind of the thing that, on the one hand, the machinery, its hardware is getting much better, so they can do much more elaborate stuff. So the stories can be better, and you can do much more in the games. But there's still stuff you just can't do. What you can do on the tabletop role playing, and also the art is usually really good these days on games.
Yeah.
But in a way that also kind of takes you away from the game. That it's so, for example, the God of War games, those are gorgeous. These Norse things, they are amazing. They look amazing, and the story is pretty good, and there are really some emotional punch. But in some way, it's still something outside you.
Yeah.
For example, when you play D&D or something like that, it hits inside you.
Yeah.
So you are still experiencing it from the outside, because the world is kind of just shown to you, and you have no part in it. So I'm sure if I'm making sense, but it's beautiful, but it's something that is outside of you, so it remains outside. So.
Yeah, it's still like reading a book. You're participating, of course, but it is still like, I know they've tried to do the open-ended a lot, but you just can't do it in a game the way you can in role-playing, because there's always going to be presets that you just can't get around, and
there's always going to be a path you have to take.
Yeah. So it's not quite the same, but I'm always really fascinated by what people do with artwork these days too, and I think like one interesting example is like the absolute variety that Neil Gaiman's works have been through when they've been translated to screen. Like American Gods was just so artsy that I was confused, because I didn't hate it necessarily, but I did think it was very, I don't know that it suited that vaguely like Norse-y mythological kind of vibe that American Gods had, and I was just like, this is weird.
Yeah, personally, I agree totally. But I did like Ian McShane
he was
as Wednesday, although I didn't like the stuff they wrote to him, but he would have been excellent Wednesday if the story, if the series would have been closer to the source material.
Yeah. In all fairness, it's been well over a decade since I read American Gods at this point, so I don't remember it super well, and we've only watched, I think, the first episode of the third season at this point. I don't. Is that it? Is it done then, or does it keep going?
They just they cut it after that. So it's. I haven't actually watched the third season because of that. Because I know that it ends somewhere.
Yeah. So the story doesn't even finish properly.
No, I don't think so.
Oh well, that sucks. Maybe I won't keep watching it.
Yeah.
But I loved what they did with Sandman, though.
Yeah, that is good.
I found Sandman to be hard to read because I think someone had given me just like, here's all of Neil Gaiman's work, and like in there was like a folder of Sandman ebooks, and I was like, what? What are all of these? Like, okay, here's this dream guy, like this I could follow. Then there's this weird dollhouse thing. What? And so it kind of brought some cohesion to the chaos of the comics. And the guy who plays Dream is just visually perfect, and you don't need to act a whole lot, I think, to pull him off. No, but he does a good job of it.
Be stoic and grumpy.
Yeah, the exact guy you don't want to be in D&D.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, I loved his story overall of this like kind of like a weirdly like sensitive god.
Yeah.
It was just like, my girlfriend broke up with me, so I sent her to hell forever.
Yeah, for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You didn't get over it in that time?
Did you talk to her or something? Nope. I just sentenced her to hell.
Yeah, she's just in hell now, and fuck her forever, I guess. Yeah. I'm moody and emo.
Well, I have to say that, if I have to say one comics that is the comics for me, it's the Sandman. So that was, I've been always a comics kid, but for quite a while I was reading comics that were looking cool. I didn't much care for the stories. It was this normal superhero stuff.
Yeah.
And I loved Simon Bisley's art, for example. This really buff dudes, Lobo comics and all that stuff. And then I came across, for some reason, some Sandman, some of those, the monthly issues with the Dave McKean covers. And the covers kind of got me off guard. Like, what are these? Because they are totally different than any other comics covers you see back in the day. So what are these? And I bought a couple of those, and I middle of some season or for some story, and I didn't quite understand what is going on, and who is the main character. I mean, this comic, it barely shows him. He's in that panel and nothing more, and in some he's the main character. And I was, what is this? What's going on? But it was really it hooked me very much immediately, and then I started reading it from the beginning, and that is the comic for me.
Yeah, I was quite old when I read it, but it was definitely like I had that confusion of like, okay, like story, side story, adjacently related, what? and because it was just all like dumped in this folder, I only had a vague idea of like the order in which they were released, so I wasn't super sure like sometimes there would just be something in there that had nothing to do with Dream at all, and I was just, I'm interested, but I'm confused.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, almost like Final Fantasy VII, sort of like, I don't understand, so I need to read this again. I don't understand, so I need to play this again. And just over and over and over, and you can probably get more from it every time.
Yeah.
It's the same reason I love Cameron Crowe movies, or at least 2 Cameron Crowe movies. I couldn't actually name more than 2 off the top of my head, but just something that keeps giving every time I watch it.
Absolutely.
And Sandman's definitely one of those ones that I was so thrilled that they were making into a show, because I was so confused by the comics a lot of the time that I was hoping they'd do a good job of it, because I wanted a little more cohesive so I could understand better. Because I loved Dream's story. I just didn't really understand all of the stuff that was happening around it.
Yeah, I was kind of suspicious about it at first, that can they pull it off? Because you know the comic is there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
So they have done a really good job of streamlining it, but still having the you know the essential stuff in it.
Yeah.
So I really like the first season.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah. Have you watched many of the other Neil Gaiman adaptations?
Has there been? I mean,
there's Good Omens.
Good Omens. I liked it. I like the casting was excellent. But there's one big problem with Good Omens, because have you read the book?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was written. Yeah. And it was written. Well, it's for a while ago. So the way the kids behave in it isn't the way the kids would behave these days.
How old is this book?
It's quite old.
Oh, 90.
Mm-hmm.
1990. Okay,
Yeah.
that's very old.
So I totally understand how the kids behave in the book.
Yeah.
But then if you take the show to modern day, you know, this day, and make the kids behave the same, it just feels like weird. Like, no. That if you have a kid that is something like 11 or something like that, they don't behave like that. Sorry.
Oh, that's interesting. I think I only watched one episode of it, and I was like, extreme British humor.
Yeah.
British humor British humor is a hard sell for me because I find it very in your face and like very obvious, and I'm always just like, more subtlety, please. But I really like the casting, like you said, and so I need to continue watching it. But I was a little suspicious, so I haven't made up my mind yet on it. But I should keep going.
I think that is basically my one problem with it. So that the way the kids are portrayed, because it's dated. Sorry.
Yeah, I can believe that. There's actually a funny story about this book specifically that I remember hearing. I don't remember, was it Terry Pratchett or Neil Gaiman who said it, but the number of like dog-eared wet books that they have signed over the years was like, they never saw a book in good condition like come in to get signed. And I read this book when I was an au pair, and I finished it when I was on vacation with the family in France. And I take care of my books. You can tell that this book is not in the bestest of conditions, but I take care of my books usually very well. And I think there's some weird mysticism about this book that they just get wet. Because there was a pool at the place we were staying. I left this book 100 meters away from the pool, under dry towels. And when I came to get it, it was in a puddle of water. And I don't know how. How did it get wet under the book, under the towels? My mind has been blown ever since.
There is some weird shit going on in there. Yeah, sure. Okay.
But yeah, so that's why that book looks so weird, because it just... None of my other books look like that.
That is true. It has seen some rough shit, that one.
I'm not sure how or why, but some mysticism. If anyone else has a weird copy of Good Omens that's mysteriously wet or messed up,
there's
let me know.
Kind of interesting thing about the Good Omens, that because it was translated in Finnish, Hyviä enteitä, and I think they took a print run of 60 or something, because I read it in Finnish, and then I was thinking, oh, I want to buy this, and it was nowhere to be found. And I literally tried to hunt it for, a decade or something before I found it, and it was something like, old book, and it's 40 euros, like, oosh.
Damn.
But I had to buy it because I had seen it. It was kind of this holy grail, sort of. Well,
yeah.
But I hope they take new print run, please.
I love Neil Gaiman's definitely done some of my favorite stories, but I love that a kind of voice of him combined with Terry Pratchett, that you have like the kind of weird and whimsical of Terry Pratchett combined with like the strange and disturbing of Neil Gaiman. And this is the only book I've ever read that I put it down and then just immediately picked it up and read it a second time because I was just so fascinated by it. And
they played well together, yeah, definitely. For me, from Neil's novels, I think my favorite was American Gods. For example, when I first got it, I had to do it. I did the reading that I read it a day, and at the end of the day, I see I put the bookmark 40 pages back, so I kind of read the 40 pages again, and then I get to the new part. So I basically read it 2 times at one sitting.
Nice.
Because otherwise I would have just gone through it like
just devouring.
Yeah, so I needed to kind of slow myself a little bit.
I think The Ocean at the End of the Lane is probably, that's over there, my little stack of my top 4 favorite books. And I think like that book was probably the first thing that made me okay with the idea of death. Because I had come out of being religious, and I was really anti-religion for a while, and really like scared of death, because just the thought of like existing and then just not existing anymore really freaked me out. Still does, kind of, but the way it, spoilers, like, if you haven't read this book you should, but what happens to him when he goes into the ocean at the end, when it's just sort of like consciousness like expanding and sort of not stopping but just kind of fading and becoming part of everything else. Like that was kind of like what maybe now is closer to what I think happens when you die. And it felt less scary, it felt more like warm and comforting, and I think that was so helpful to me in that point where I was just like, oh my god, death is awful, there's no heaven, there's no hell, there's just nothing. And that just idea that no, like you just kind of expand and fade into everything
was
a
nice idea, sure.
A nicer idea at least.
Sure.
Something that makes death less anxiety inducing.
I mean, I think everyone kind of tries to figure out how to feel about death.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it's kind of like I try to think that the idea of nothingness is that there isn't anything. For example, that you can't think about what happened before you were born. So it wasn't emptiness. It's just nothing. So the idea that we become also nothing. It's not the emptiness we think, but it's just nothing.
Yeah.
And the idea of this kind of dissolving into the big consciousness or whatever, that sounds really nice.
Yeah, who knows? If you've died, tell us.
Let us know.
Tell us what happens.
I mean, Neil deals quite a lot with death in his writings. Yeah. Have you read the Graveyard book?
I did.
What do you think about that?
I'm trying to remember it. I remember enjoying it a lot. I don't remember much about it though.
I think it was kind of like a jungle book, but in cemetery.
Yeah, I remember. This is interesting. I remember the vibe and like the visuals that were in my mind when I read it more than I remember the actual plot. I just remember the graveyard and how it was described, but
there
like
was Silas, who was the kind of the vampire.
I gotta reread that.
Yeah, I really like that too. Yeah.
I remember what was the kind of romance about the falling star? Stardust?
Yeah, Stardust. Yeah.
I remember really enjoying that and then being pleasantly surprised with the movie, because they did Hollywoodize the end a little bit, but I thought that was fair, because in the end of the book it's kind of just like, sorry, we got there first, you dead now. And,
Yeah.
and so like they actually gave it a little climax and a little like final showdown and things, which I thought that was fine. But yeah, I thought like that's actually one of the few movie adaptations of something that stuck pretty good to the book, and the changes weren't worse.
Yeah,
so.
Once again, good casting with the two leads.
Yeah.
I mean, the Robert De Niro stuff was kind of like, okay, sure, why not?
It was just funny to see Robert De Niro, the fabulous cross-dresser.
Yeah, okay, sure. But it felt
Robert De Niro in drag, why not?
Bit gimmicky, so
A little.
like, okay, sure, why not? Yeah, and it was, once again, Neil tends to write pretty dark, so it was much lighter, but yeah, I like the movie too.
Yeah. His shorter stories, like, I think his short stories are not his best. Usually they're kind of convoluted and confusing, but like I can't even remember, did I actually read Anansi Boys before American Gods? I don't remember, but I remember loving Anansi Boys, just like the humor and the weirdness and this just terrible brotherly relationship that was so, I don't know, familiar somehow, even though I don't have my brothers are twins, so I don't know if it was something to do with that, but just like the good twin and the evil twin. But
that was actually I've read it, but I've also listened it as an audiobook. It's probably voiced by Lenny Henry or something like that. I really like that.
Oh.
He has excellent accents. That is, I highly recommend that.
Gotta check that out for sure. Because I that's another one that's on my reread list.
Yeah.
Probably American Gods too at this point. After watching the show for as much as I have, I definitely gotta check that out again. Because I'm now like thinking about it from the show and wondering, how did that actually go? And does this make more sense now that I've seen it visualized?
Actually, about the American Gods series, TV series, I think they did Matt Sweeney quite well in the show. I mean, in the book, he's much less of a real character. He's just a side character. But in the show, he's quite much there, and they fleshed him out a bit better. So I like that one, and I like the casting also.
They did that with the dead girlfriend too, right? The Laura.
Yeah.
She didn't really have personality in the book, so
that is true. Yeah.
I don't know that I liked her, but I don't think she's supposed to be likable. So. But yeah, and then her strange relationship with Mad Sweeney was also strange, but like felt realistic for what was going on, and yeah, that was interesting because I can't even like remember her much from the books.
No, she was pretty much just in the background. That she was just kind of following him and just bailing him out of trouble whenever needed.
Yeah. Neil Gaiman. Interesting. Have you ever seen, actually, this just popped into mind, the Neil Gaiman reads bad Neil Gaiman?
No.
They did some contest somewhere that was like, we all know Neil Gaiman writes great Neil Gaiman, but what does bad Neil Gaiman sound like? And then Neil Gaiman reads these, like, I don't know, paragraph-long stories written like bad Neil Gaiman, and then it's just like, his first line is just, you should all be ashamed of yourselves, and reads these wonderful stories about, like, it's hard to explain. You just kind of have to see it. I'll link it in the YouTube description.
Definitely, you have to check it out.
It's on my list of favorite things to watch on YouTube. Just how well people nailed doing Neil Gaiman bad.
Yeah, and I just knowing that Neil Gaiman is such a nice and pleasant, very British person, that he's just. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the stories. It was like, once upon a time there was a poker game that took place on the head of a pin, or something like that.
Sounds very much.
Something about like there was a tree and a wolf and a moon and a child. But the tree's name was Wolf, so the child's name was Child, or something just absolutely stupid, and it really sounds like Neil Gaiman.
That sounds really much like Neil Gaiman's short story.
What's his other? Is it Neverwhere?
Neverwhere, yeah.
Neverwhere. I don't think I like that one so much.
Oh, I think that has potential. There was kind of interesting ideas that the names of the London subway had real meaning. Like friars and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so it was an interesting idea.
I love the setting.
Yeah.
But just the main character was such like a emotionless wet blanket that I think I struggled to follow him or care about him a little bit.
It's actually a bit like in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The main thing is like the main character is just this kind of this blank thing that's going around the universe. So it's very much similar like that in the Neverwhere, that there's not much personality.
Yeah, and I know that is a writing technique to like help people, like if there's not too many specifics, it helps you like put yourself in the place of that character. That explains like Harry Potter and stuff like that. But there's got to be kind of something interesting about the person, and this guy was just like the most like unmotivated, uninteresting, just there was nothing exciting about him whatsoever, and I think I found it hard to get excited about his adventure because he wasn't excited about his adventure.
Yeah, true. That's true. Yeah.
Again, I need to like go back through Neil Gaiman's works or something and check them out, because I'm sure I would appreciate them in all new ways because it's been so long since I've read them. That is true,
yeah. I should also read some stuff. Also, one of the, his shorter stuff that I really like is actually Norse mythology based, Odd and the Frost Giants.
Okay, I don't know if I've read that.
That's quite short story, but, it's kind of he has this cool way of writing these characters that are kind of, it's hard to explain, that they are kind of these, they're quite neutral, that they have this kind of this weird positive outset of life, but they are still quite neutral, and they just react normally the weird shit that goes on around them. So I quite like that in Odd and Frost Giants.
That's interesting.
And it's a quick read. And
that's always good.
And it has cool Norse gods. I think that one of Neil's best qualities is how he writes Norse mythology and Norse gods. Have you read the book he wrote about the Norse mythology?
No, I think I was still following him when that was published, and I was kind of interested, but no, I don't think I ever got it.
It's pretty good read. I mean, the stories are pretty much the stories they were told, but he writes them very well. So it's very pleasant to read them.
Yeah.
And he adds kind of interesting anecdotes and kind of connections to other stuff. So I recommend it.
Very cool. Well, one of the things that I think like you and Neil Gaiman have in common with this lovely graphic novel was that you surprised me with it, because especially stuff that's written with mythos, it's been done a lot. It's been done a lot and a lot and a lot for theoretically thousands of years. So, but I love this idea of like someone kind of like hijacking Ragnarok and fucking it up, and like it's not gone as it was supposed to. So like, how did you come up with the idea for that?
Well, I mean, the whole story of that comic book is related to Neil, because the first idea was for the people who wanted that comic to be made was that they wanted Neil to write it.
Okay.
And they actually emailed Neil's, the head of Neil's production company, Kat Mihos, and we are friends. So basically, Kat just answered them, sorry that Neil is very busy. Actually, he was busy writing the Norse mythology book and probably also working on, I think it might have been the American Gods TV series at the time. So Kat Mihos answered them, sorry, Neil is too busy, but I know this guy from Finland who loved to do it. He kind of tagged me to it, and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And I answered her that, okay, yeah, I'm interested in doing that. I haven't actually done, comics that size before, but yeah, sure, that sounds interesting, but I can't write it. I can illustrate it, but I can't write it. So she kind of said that, okay, I will help you. I will be the writer. And we asked another person also to help with the writing. So we kind of continued with that. But during the process of doing that, I just slowly kind of sneaked into the writing myself, and I just at some point I was realizing that I'm actually proofreading their writings and correcting them, and then I was writing myself also. So I think that I've written about a third of that.
Okay.
In the end, even though I didn't want to write it. But the idea is very much kind of Neil Gaiman based also. That the thing I loved Neil's view on mythology is that he takes the core elements and then he just twists them in some way and finds some new angle, and that was what we are trying to do with that. Even though the first thing that hooked me was Kat's idea that could we do a comic where Odin is a bartender. That was the start of it. I was like, okay, I like this, let's do it.
Yeah, I love that.
So the idea just because the stories have been told so many times that it's not good enough. I mean, there have been artists and writers who have done it million times over better than I can ever do it. So we might just twist it and find a new angle on it.
Yeah. Well, that is what happens with stories in the end, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Everything's been told before, everything's been done before. It's just a matter of pulling different inspirations and different ideas. But I love that you can just come up with like Odin as a bartender, and then you have this cool story about like someone kind of like faking their way out of Ragnarok. And I love that. And I remember reading it and just being like, I did not know what this was about. Because I bought this just because you were the nicest person at the Sarjakova festival. And so I was like, this is how I buy books when I go out. It's just, who's the nicest person at this convention? I will buy their book.
Yeah, that explains with you and Hipe also.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Him I had at least interviewed once before, so we were acquainted, but he didn't recognize me. But shout out to Jipe Ahonen.
Yeah.
He's a lovely dude, and Mr. Satan is from his comic books. So.
And also there's a little Easter egg for Jipe in the comic. Did you notice it?
No, I didn't. I'm going to have to look again.
Should I spoil it?
No,
Okay.
I want to check first and see if I can find it.
Okay. But my history with Jipe was that actually when I was kind of starting that project, it wasn't nearly as finished. We were just started talking about doing this, and then I went to the Sarjakuva festival, and I stumbled across Perkeros, which is gorgeous comics made by Jipe, and I was just looking at it a few seconds and I was like, oh shit. And I saw Jipe was signing stuff there, and I went to him and I basically, told him that he is a fucking dickhead for doing this comic, because now I had to buy it and I couldn't buy the things I was supposed to buy. And then I made him sign it, and we've been friends ever since. And he is the nicest person on earth.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. If you don't know his name, he's probably most well known for this Beelzebub's comic of these wonderful black metal dads, kind of.
Those are amazing. I love those. But you also should check out Perkeros because it's gorgeous. I love that. Love that comic.
And if you're interested in learning Finnish, you could check out what's his other one? His more slice of life comic. The newspaper comic.
Yeah. Ouch.
No,
I'm just.
Damn it, I can't remember. It's right on the tip of my brain tongue, and
this is annoying.
That always happens.
Oh shit.
I'll link him down in the YouTube
I can
description.
picture the covers
all
of
the
comics.
characters
Yeah, it will come to us.
Vilimpi.
Pohjola, yes, absolutely. High five. Combination.
Yes, right on the tip of the brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But I love his sense of humor and his art style is amazing. It's so effortless.
Yeah, just all of the just little subtle jokes are just even like the character Blasphemy is just Pikkumu from Moomies, but a little black metal girl. It's just so perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just wonderful. Shout out, absolutely. If you need people that you need to check out who are just good, wholesome, wonderful people, go check out Yuka Ahonen. He's just the best.
There are people lining on his door now.
Yeah, I've in my piles of stuff in here, I've got a bunch of his artwork that I need to get framed and everything. So, just great dude.
True. Have you watched Walking Dead?
I have not. There's a weird, like a really dumb reason that I haven't watched Walking Dead, which was because I used to work for a brief window of time in medicine. And the fact that the main character pops up off the table out of a coma and just starts walking around like it's nothing pissed me off so much that I just did a full nope on the whole series.
Okay, because I have kind of Neil-related thing, so that first time I saw the first episode of Walking Dead. I was at Neil Gaiman's home and I was surrounded by roller derby girls.
Okay.
And Neil wasn't home actually. So that's my kind of backstory.
Why the roller derby girls?
I have no idea why they were there. I think they were kind of coming to see him, but he wasn't there. So, but we watched Walking Dead.
Have you also met Amanda Palmer then?
No, actually, Neil was off to see Amanda Palmer. That's why he wasn't there.
So every few years I rediscover the Vegemite song, which is like he said that that's the closest thing to a love song she ever wrote for him, and it just absolutely cracks me up every time I listen to it. I don't know, do you know it? But
no, actually, it sounds good.
Wonderful song about like you tell me that you love me when I'm lying in your arms, and you tell me I'm the only one who understands your troubled mind, and I'm blind to all the evil that you do, and that I love you more than any other girl could ever do. So how can you love Vegemite? It tastes like sadness. It tastes like batteries. It tastes like asses. I cannot hold a man so close who spreads this cancer on his toast. It is the Vegemite, my darling, or it's me.
Oh dear.
It's just this wonderful song of, she's kind of like sing-talking and just goes on to tell this story about someone tricking her into eating Marmite as a child, and by saying it was chocolate fudge and it made her throw up, and so she's just these little lines. I love Amanda Palmer because I consider her more of an artist who uses music as a media than a musician per se. And
there's definitely kind of this wholesome kind of this show and presentation to her.
Yeah.
It's not just about music. Sure.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I think, what is the line? It's like, something about like, oh fuck, I was just listening to this the other day and now I can't remember how it goes again, but something about like holding hands and then please wash your hands, you just had Vegemite for lunch, and just, the way she delivers these subtle lines is just magnificent. She absolutely cracks me up.
Well, actually, I think I've been on the kind of the other side because I've illustrated a poem, Conjunctions, for Neil, and that was about him meeting Amanda Palmer.
Okay.
And that's much more kind of romantic and sad and all that.
Aw.
It doesn't have Vegemite, but it has this fish heart that still pumps when it's cut out of the fish.
Okay. Yeah.
Much more Neil Gaiman.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, it's very much like, I'm pretty sure the song ends with like, put down the Vegemite fucker or I leave. So, I have to assume Neil Gaiman likes Vegemite.
Probably, yeah. Apparently, yeah.
Haven't tried it myself. Never been
Me
to
neither.
Australia.
I mean, would it be something like Mambi?
It's got to be worse. I actually don't know what Vegemite is made of. I think
Me
I probably
neither.
looked into it at some point, sometime years
But
ago.
I think you know the structure and the colorization is a bit similar to Mambi.
Seems like Mambi, but Mambi's not like, Mambi's just gross. It's not gonna make anyone barf, I don't think.
I think if you don't know what you are tasting, it might.
I suppose if someone told you this is chocolate fudge and gave you Mambi,
definitely.
they'd probably be like, blah! But I don't know, maybe I'm a bit weird, because Mambi's not too bad for me. I don't like it, but if you give it the cream and sugar treatment, it's edible.
Enough cream and sugar. Also, if you want little kick to it, then you can put Kyrö dairy cream, cream liquor, or Baileys to it.
Oh, okay.
That makes it much easier to easier to eat.
Easier to swallow.
Yeah, sure.
Incredible. Just Finnish cuisine is something
absolutely.
else. There was an old comic, Scandinavia and the World. I don't follow it anymore because I think it moved off wherever I was following it. But they did have a comic one time that was like Nordic cuisines, and then it's like the Finland character holding just like, you know, the swirly poo and just like the stink lines coming off of it, and someone's just like, you have to help Finland, they're starving there because their food is so bad.
Yeah, I love the character because always grumpy.
With the knife.
Yeah. What's with the knife?
It was so perfect too, because that was like becoming a thing right when I moved here in those first few years, and so I was just fully like yes to everything, 100% yes. Like,
have you seen the one with the the Nordic flags or the the crest animal things? With the Finnish one, with the lion sticking the sword in his own head.
Yes.
Oh
the
dear.
special,
Yeah,
the
the special lion. That was hilarious.
Was the Swedish one like, but can I make them more pompous? And the two like, I should look into those, because I don't remember where I used to follow them. Was it even like DeviantArt or something like that? But that's just 4chan nowadays, so don't know. I
actually
check on
think
Instagram.
that I was checking them on DeviantArt too.
But DeviantArt had like a weird overhaul some like years ago, I heard, and it's just 4chan now. It's just porn. So
Okay.
I guess most of the like non-porn artists moved on to like Flickr or Instagram or something else. And
I think I still have some account there and some really old stuff there, but haven't checked in years.
I think I got some notification some years ago that's like, if you don't want your DeviantArt account closed, you should come sign in, and I was just like, nah.
I think I might have got a similar thing and signed it, so it still might be somewhere there, but I haven't used it in years.
I was going to ask, you ended up trying out Spiritfarer, didn't you?
Yeah.
How did you like it? Did you finish it?
No, like I said. But actually, a couple of days back, I just went back to it. So it's one of those very therapeutic, games where the controls are easy. So basically you know where you are. So it's in that sense it's really nice. I really like the art style is really cool. And I did the first mission, and I was really interested what happens, because there was this kind of these darker elements there, and I really like it. But once again, I should have just more time. I would love to play more, but
yeah, it's definitely one of those games that's gonna like poke you in the heartstrings a few times because of all the and there's such like a good lore to it, because they tell you all these things about the characters, but you have to, there's some places in the game that you can read a little deeper. I think one of the last things you can build on your boat is like a projector room, and there's a filing cabinet in there that doesn't really have anything to do with the game, but you can read about the spirits on your boat in the filing cabinet and learn a bit more. But I don't even know where all the lore came from, because I ended up looking up a lot of it on, like, a wiki or something. That, like, all of these people were, like, people that she knew in life or something, and, like, all of her relationships with them, and Giovanni and Astrid, for example, like, apparently she met on an exchange to France, and they kind of became her adoptive grandparents or something like that. So there's all these like deeper relationships in there that you don't even see on the surface. And then just everything that every character says on their way to the Everdoor, it always just kind of like hits me in the sad spot of like, this woman had dementia, or this guy clearly died of ALS, or and they never say it outright, but I remember the guy with ALS, he just talks about it in this way of like, but then my body started to fail and my mind was still as alive as ever, but people started to treat me like part of the furniture or something, and I was just like, oh. Like, my friend's mom died a couple of years ago of ALS. I used to work in the ALS clinics when I was doing medical transcription, so pretty familiar with ALS, and it's just sad always when that happens. They did such a beautiful job.
Yeah, it really hits like something very, very emotional, and very good writing. So and I like the idea that these spirits are these animal characters, but they still talk about the real life and how things were in their life. So it's interesting. I'm definitely going to play more of it, but when I have time, when I'm retired or something.
There's one like small detail, but I love every single one of the hug animations in it. They're all so different, and they're all so sweet. It just gets me every time. Like, it was part of the joy of playing the game to just go and see if anyone needed a hug every morning or whatever, that I'd get to watch these cute little animations. Astrid was maybe my favorite because she just puts her whole arms around and just kind of like drapes across her, and it's so cute. And I even figured out you can hug the cat too. Yeah, you can. You have to like go interact with it, and there's no button or anything, but if you kind of get the cat alone, you can like scoop it up and give it a hug.
Oh, I have to try it.
But little things. Just sweet little things.
I mean, those are kind of another totally different genre of games that hit me very deeply, and also very simple to play is Limbo. Have you played it?
Haven't. I think we have it, and
it's basically
we tried it a little
black and white graphics with this little boy just going forward and trying to not get killed.
And everything's kind of in shadow, so you can't see what's gonna hurt. Right?
Yeah,
I remember
and
playing
it's
a bit of it.
very, very creepy and very kind of mysterious and very. You are just escaping something, and it hits really deep, and it's kind of one of those small indie games that I really like.
Yeah, I think small indie games are kind of the way to go these days for like real gems. I feel like.
Have you played Journey?
Journey is definitely a favorite. Everything about that game, the music, the visuals, and I have such a fond memory of one time, like, I had gotten pretty familiar with the game. I had, found everything, and one of the people I was playing with was clearly, like, looking to me, and I would be like, come this way, like, come follow me, and they were following me, and we had such a good game together, and then afterwards, I got a message from the player saying that, like, thank you so much, this is my little sister playing for the first time, and she had such a great time because you took such good care of her. And that was
so
just
amazing.
such a nice thing that, like, we played this entire game together in, like, an hour or two or something, and to have this just nice, like, interaction afterwards of, like, hey, thanks for taking care of this person who didn't know what they were doing in this weird, scary world. And so there's definitely some fond memories of that game. And also the music has been done by some of those, I think score orchestral game music has often done, like, is it Score? I don't remember. I've seen a few of these game music bands, like the Game Music Collective as well, and I don't remember. Some of them have done, like, Apotheosis from the soundtrack, and always just so good.
Yeah.
Some of the music in that game is just fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. And also the kind of the idea that there's no way to lose in it. That you just go. It is a journey.
Yeah.
And I really love the ending.
Yeah.
It's really also, for some reason, it's very kind of heart-wrenching.
Like, emotional yet uplifting.
Yeah.
So, like, heart-wrenching, but not in a, like, negative or bad way. Like, a way that just makes you feel really good.
Yeah.
I think the makers of that did another game called Flower that I did play recently. Not as good, but I liked still the vibe of it. It was very peaceful and beautiful, and like bringing life back to this space. And
absolutely, and perfect game if you just want to kind of get shit off your head. Just do something that is easy and light for a little while. To forget, stressful stuff.
Yeah.
And Flower is absolutely wanting to do that.
Absolutely. Did you ever play the Hades game?
I have it, and I have started it. Yes, I love the score. The music is amazing, and I love the art style.
Yeah. I was really impressed with that. Like, the use of the Norse characters, or not Norse, Greek mythology characters, was really good. Like, they really stuck with a lot of the, like, main key elements of who these are, but were able to play with them a little bit. And this small thing, but I liked that the voice actor who did Meg kind of sounded like the one from the Disney Hercules. It's just a small thing, but I know that voice actor from only two things.
Yeah.
Hercules and Spirited Away English. And I've always loved her, like, kind of weird, sarcastic, lazy kind of way of talking, and so the fact that the voice actor kind of reflected that a little bit was just a little nugget of something nice. But
that's another game I should get back to, because I kind of get the idea that there will be much more lore in it the further you go.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those kind of grinding stuff and a bit hard to play, so
it's a roguelike, so they are repetitive to a degree. There comes, like, there's no clear ending, but there is a like more or less story end point. which I think requires you to beat the game like 10 times or something like that. But once you do it the first time, it's not so bad. But I loved it because a couple of reasons. The portrayal of characters is really good. Like, Dusa clearly has some sort of like OCD issues and like anxiety or something. You have like so much like good representation.
Yeah.
I like that they played with skin colors really nicely, and like, you know, like you got this like boomer dad who just do as I say, not as I do, and like just all of the representation of everyone is just really, really good, and you viscerally just don't like Hades a lot of the time because he just doesn't listen. He's such a dick. And, but the other thing I love about it is that, you know, there was this belief that you just can't put story in a roguelike game. It just won't work.
Yeah.
And they did it. They did it, and they did a good job of it. So I think...
As long as you're good enough to play grind the game.
Yeah. There's definitely the claws were my... I'm not as I've mentioned, I'm not a great tactical player. I'm more of the, like, dual-wielding tank type who just goes face first into everything and...
Button mashing. Ah!
Yeah. And so the claws that allow you to, like, draw people in and just, like, rip them up works really well for me. I'm not great with a lot of the other weapons, but the claws I could do. I think that the sword had this one thing, if you get lucky from Daedalus, it does this, you can just hold the attack button and he just goes shing, 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 like endlessly. And if you mix that with a couple other things, then you just become this insane, like, slashing monstrosity that just bashes through everything. But
that sounds like I should get that.
It's got its, like, there's definitely some that are easier and harder to use. I think the gun is really hard to use. I was never good at the gun.
Yeah.
Spear, I think, was also fairly hard for me. The bow, bow is in the middle. The bow is entirely dependent on what stacks onto it. So I can work with the bow, but and I love, again, like little like droplets of just nice mythology in there. That if you don't know anything about Greek mythology, it's still a good story. So
sure. I mean, the one thing I really loved about the Divinity Original Sin 2 is actually the combat stuff, because it just goes, it's just, you don't have to button mash anything. It just goes, okay, it's now time to do something, and you can take as long as you want to figure out what you do, and then you do it, and then it kind of goes like step by step, so you don't have to like lose your shit and go to panic mode and goes ah. And that's what roguelikes are. Then you're just going ape shit.
Just panic mode all the time.
Yeah. So I'm just not good enough in that. So it would require a lot of training.
There's one roguelike that I was playing for a good long while, and I now have its sequel that's not quite as good, but it was called Enter the Gungeon. And this game is like 90% puns. So it's already wonderful based off that. It's just ludicrous puns all the time. Like, there's 100 different guns, they're all a pun. And some of them just make no sense. They're like, you have a gun that is made out of, like, it's made from like balloon animals, and it shoots tornadoes. Absolute ludicrous nonsense. And so, first of all, anything with puns is just great. And it's 2D bit art, so that's always delightful. And the story, I guess, is that if you can get to the end of the game, there's the gun that can shoot the past. So all of the characters have, like, some deep, dark trauma that they want to change from their past. And so you're just trying to defeat the dragon, because puns, obviously, and defeat the dragon so you can shoot the past and it basically sends them back in time so they can change this thing that happened that was bad. And
sure.
it's one of those bitchy things too, where like you beat the dragon, but then you still have to play through the after story, and I think you might still have to fight something, and you maybe I think could still die. I'm not sure. There's a wonderfully horrible game called Spelunky that I
recognize the name.
Tell you how many times I have killed the end boss and then died from some. So the first time this happened was
I sense some trauma.
Yes, I think my friend has trauma from this, because back when I was first living here, I was playing this, so it would have been, I don't know, maybe like 2011-ish, 10, I'm not sure. Back when I was still, no, it could have been later, 2013. I was still having residence issues a lot when I first moved here. And in the middle of this like residence catastrophe, I was playing this game, and I posted something on Facebook that like I was just like, ah, motherfucker, ah! And just, my friend thought I was getting kicked out of the country because that was the degree of like reaction I had. And so he like called me in a panic, wondering like, are you okay? What's going on? And I was like, I hate this game! And he's just like, what? I thought you were, what? And this happened again, so I decided, because there's a Spelunky 2 now, and I thought maybe I'll try it, but I'm gonna replay Spelunky 1, and
are you ready for it?
Last boss, there's so many enemies that just lurk at the top of the room, and it was the exact same thing that happened to me the first time I beat this boss. I kill him, he's so hard to beat, and I kill him, and the vampire pops out of the corner and just kills me.
I'm not sure if you should play it again.
As soon as I beat it the second time, I was like, and I'm done. Delete.
Yeah.
We're not even looking at
Vanish.
the achievements list. This is done. We're done. There's no more.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'm ever going to play Spelunky 2.
Probably not.
I tried it once, and I was like, oh god, they made this bitchier than the first one. And
I mean, I don't understand why it's... I mean, the Souls games, these Dark Souls, I mean, I don't understand why people are so just gushing about it. It's so difficult and so... You die all the time and everything goes to shit, and I don't know, why? Why would I play it? I mean...
I can gush about Dark Souls for a while. I mean, it's largely like, I love the world and the kind of... a similar kind of vibe that, like, there's story if you want to dig for it, but you don't need to have story. And to a degree, you can also just grind and make it easier if that's your style. But I think, like, there's something to the, like, death by 1,000 well-timed butt pokes that's sort of, like, there's an appeal to it. This has happened to me with a few games over the years that I've been like, no chance in hell I ever play that too hard. And then eventually, like, I hear enough about it and everyone says good enough things, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll play Dark Souls. And I loved it. I thought it was fabulous. It's hard. I don't think it's, like, as hard as people say, like, or maybe I've just played enough video games that I have some degree of understanding.
I think that I played it about 2 hours and then I was like, fuck it. Never again.
For sure the, like, first, like, Taurus Demon in Dark Souls 1, I remember just, you're on this, like, narrow path and it just charges at you and I'm... Like, I think I defeated it just kind of by accidentally knocking it off. Like, I think it kind of killed itself. And, like, maybe I participated a little bit, but I think I just somehow got lucky and it fell off the tower, and I was just like, whoa! Hey, yes! But I never got through Bloodborne. I might still be stuck on Rom the Vacuous Spider. Fuck that thing. I I think I've like streamed myself fighting it so many times, and it's just like the visuals are so hard to manage because it's just like it's a spider and it doesn't really move.
Yeah.
But it's got like a billion little spiders around it, and so you have to always decide, do I clear out the little ones or do I attack the big one?
Yeah.
And it's always a catastrophe, and like once you get to the like power up final form version, it just starts blasting like one hit kill magic shots, and if you're not like looking in the right direction or constantly sprinting, this magic blast will come up and you're just instantly dead. So
yeah, not my kind of game. No.
A stress thing for sure.
I don't want any more stress when I play them.
Yes, this is escapism. I'm not supposed to be worked up.
Yeah. I need to go to real world so I can get the energy to play this game. No, not for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not how this is supposed to work. But I love the worlds and I love the lore and everything like that, which is kind of similar to the world I have for my Zweihander campaign. So just dark and gritty and you die easy. Yeah. But my players just ruined it all by turning it into Baywatch. So
that might change it a little bit.
Yeah, I dropped them in the darkness. And because I roll like crap all the time, they beat the shit out of my boss. So they have all these resources. What did I do with them? Build a tiki bar. Not a shelter. No, they built a tiki bar. So there was a reason that they did this, which is because it was based off this Kingdom Death Monster game. And as you can see, the minis that come with the game are pretty sexist to both genders.
Yeah.
Because that's what the women look like, and this is what the men look like. They're all pretty hot.
Yeah.
So they just decided that they were all going to be ridiculous babes, and so I introduced this woman at the end of last session who looks exactly like Pamela Anderson, but with black eyes. And I asked them, do you invite her to stay or do you kick her out of your settlement? And they asked her to stay, so I was like, cool, 9 corruption for everyone across the board. You just invited a demon into your house. So
Has there been David Hasselhoff character in yet?
I don't know if I could talk about this. I don't know if anyone watches my podcast.
Okay, so yeah.
Also, he's in there somewhere for sure.
Okay, well that's then it's big.
They're probably going to meet the Goblin King from Labyrinth next session. Let's see. Because, David Bowie in Labyrinth, very hot. So, codpiece, that's absolutely... This is what they wanted, so this is what they're getting.
Yeah.
I can steer into this kid.
Yeah, okay.
You want to ruin my Grimdark campaign by making it Baywatch? Let's do this.
Let's do this the hard way. Sure.
Yeah. So it's supposed to be kind of Dark Soulsy, but instead it's slutty.
Interesting combination.
Yeah. I'm making it work the best I can, and I have now officially watched the first episode of Baywatch.
Oh, really?
Which is apparently actually a movie, like, in length, and it's kind of like a movie to pitch the show, I suppose, and it was just off the walls nonsensical. So, very entertaining, honestly.
I mean, the slow-mo walking stuff, running things.
It's mostly what I remember from the 90s.
Yeah.
Slow motion jiggling.
I mean, except that they didn't even jiggle much because plastics.
Yeah.
But
more like hard bouncing.
Bounce is much more. Yeah.
Yeah. The girl who plays CJ in the remake movie with The Rock, she jiggles.
Yeah. I mean, for all things to make her movie again is Baywatch. Okay.
They honestly though had like the best line, and I'm embarrassed to say I've watched this movie twice, but it's a good hangover sort of movie, like on those days when you just are like, put something dumb on. And I noticed there's this one point where Zac Efron, like, all the lifeguards are talking about, like, you don't take us seriously as lifeguards? Here's some of the stuff that's happened this year. Diamond smugglers, hiding diamonds in surfboards. And then Zac Efron's character says, like, this sounds like the plot of a really entertaining but extremely unrealistic television show. And I just, the moment I clocked that they were being, like, making fun of themselves, I cracked up really hard because that was very on the money. Like, extremely entertaining but highly unrealistic show.
I mean, the work of a lifeguard is pretty hard on that part of the world, apparently.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, only one episode in, but they already had to get real creative in making it interesting, and this goes on for how many seasons?
I have no idea.
I want to say, like, there's a good, like, 5 seasons before it turned into, like, Baywatch Hawaii or something, and it was a bit different, but yeah, apparently I just need to watch Baywatch now to catch up on my 90s so I can properly make fun of my characters in my campaign.
I mean, when I go back to watch some old TV, I usually go a bit darker stuff. I just watched the Edge of Darkness. Do you know the TV series? It's a British one. It's
by name, but I haven't seen it.
6-part miniseries. It has is it Bob Peck as the lead? It's kind of this eco-terrorism stuff.
Okay.
From 85, and
a little older than me.
Yeah, it was one of the series I really kind of got into as a teenager when I saw it first time. It was just this dark and kind of this plutonium and radioactive stuff and all that stuff. Much darker than Baywatch. I can tell you that.
I mean, Baywatch surprisingly fucked up. Like, this first episode has a girl, like, it's honestly by the end of the episode it's unclear whether she fell on purpose. But like this unhinged young woman who develops a fixation on one of the lifeguards and like tries to murder his wife so she can have him, and I was just like, yeah, this was TV plots in the 90s, wasn't it? Damn, this is wild. Okay, like, this is so over the top that I'm actually kind of interested in watching this. Never was a fan of Hasselhoff, though. Like, I never thought he was hot. Same with Swayze. I didn't like the heartthrobs of the 90s.
Yeah, I think the car was cooler than David Hasselhoff in Knight Rider.
Yes, absolutely. Car was hot.
Yeah, hot car, yeah. And smarter. But I mean, he's an amazing singer, so I mean David Hasselhoff, not the car.
Car might be an amazing singer.
Who
voice acted the car?
It was amazing that was it in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where the end song is David Hasselhoff. Isn't it?
Yeah, he was definitely in one of them.
Yeah.
I only know him from Hooked on a Feeling, honestly. And is that even his song originally?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It's only because there used to be this person on YouTube who did literal music videos, and he changed the lyrics so that they made sense to what was happening in the music video. And one of them was Hooked on a Feeling, and it's just... They were really funny. I'm sorry that I think, like, YouTube copyright kind of axed that, but he had some really good ones. He had like a Total Eclipse of the Heart, which that music video is straight out of my childhood weird dreams. It's an acid trip of a music video. And there's the Meatloaf Anything for Love they do, which has that weird Beauty and the Beast video. Yeah. Journey Separate Ways, Worlds Apart. Just a lot of like weird 80s and 90s music videos, and they just put like lyrics saying, "We're all yelling at you," just talking about what's happening. And I've got carpal tunnel. Just all this absolutely weird stuff that is what's happening in the video.
Yeah.
You can still find them, I think. Every once in a while someone has like adapted one and flipped the screen or put a border on it, but I think the originals are kind of hard to find. But very entertaining. I miss those. They were good for a while.
It kind of reminds me of one YouTube video I saw, a small clip that, what's the song that Mick Jagger and David Bowie did?
Ooh, together. Dancing in the Street.
Yeah, and there's no music, they're just dancing in the...
I could never get over Mick Jagger's shirt in that because he's wearing this like silky baggy shirt with the like cargo pockets that just makes it look like he has these like droopy pendulous breasts the whole time, and then David Bowie's doing these like high kicks in a onesie full body suit, and just a brilliant video. They did that something. There's some like Little John song called "Turn Down for What," I think, and it's such a strange music video, and it's like a dude who keeps like belly flopping through like a floor and then like partying in whatever room that he ends up in, and someone did this where they took the music out of it, and it's just like hump. Oh! And all the people around just like, where did this man come from? And then there's no music, so it's just this dude like writhing on the floor.
Weird, very disturbing. What? What's going on, please?
Music videos are weird.
Yeah, definitely.
I often wonder, like, what, when you were listening to this song, what made this come to mind?
Oh, did you listen to this song? At some point.
Creative directors, no interest in lyrics, just vibe.
Okay.
And that's why I think I always liked Aqua when I was young, because they had those like really ludicrous like storied music videos, like Dr. Jones, she's in a jungle. It sounds like what they're talking about. And I think like Aqua ruined all music videos for me because their music videos made sense even if they were silly, and none of the other music videos did. So
I mean, there's not much music video. Kind of, I think that the high point of it was during the MTV, so it was something like 90s or something like that. I mean, I think that they were kind of like almost these mini movie productions back in there, but I don't think they are not so. They are not so expensive and not so popular these days anymore. So.
Yeah. I think the last music video that gave me a weird vibe was Iron Maiden's The Wicker Man back in like 2000, because I swear that was another thing that was like right out of my dreams. Like I remember that music video from when I was a child.
Okay.
Some like weird time dilation like thing where like I dreamt that music video like years before it happened, and this happened to me a handful of times. I also dreamt Majora's Mask before it existed. But that one I can explain, because I had been playing Ocarina of Time so much, and anything that I played a lot would show up in my dreams.
Yeah,
and it was this weird, twisted version of Ocarina of Time, which in hindsight was just North Clocktown in Majora's Mask, because there's this, like, there were little kids there. That was weird. There weren't little kids in Ocarina of Time, and there was this, like, elf who was, like a weird old man dressed as an elf, and that's just Tingle. And there's the, like, fairy in a cavern and everything, and...
I mean, can you tap that part of the brain somehow?
I wish I could.
You could do some serious money.
Yeah, I could be a real psychic, but no, the time dilation only happens in my dreams, and I don't remember my dreams anymore, so... Alas. I do remember, though, the first time I played Majora's Mask, I was, like... freaky. So freaky. I think I just had to put the controller down a minute and be like, why do I know this? I was like, the only explanation was, no, I had this dream. No, this is...
That is weird, cool stuff.
Weird things you can't explain.
Yeah. That happens sometime.
Yeah. I love weird things you can't explain. Sure. That's just real life fantasy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there has to be something behind all these things that make sense.
You gotta have just a little nonsense every once in a while, too.
Sure.
I used to really love, like, point-and-click games like King's Quest. King's Quest 6 is, like, my first love in games. And when I first moved here, I lived on this island, and I my host family lived in this rented mökki, and that was where they lived. But they also had like an artist house on the island, and it was like a 5-minute walk over there. And in the woods, you would find weird things that didn't make sense, like a cement staircase that went to nowhere, or just like a stone wall, and then like half of it was fallen over. And then one day I was walking home, and I found it's a tutti in English, a pacifier.
Yeah.
A pacifier. Yeah, that's what it's called, right? And it was just sitting on this like stone wall, and I was like, I need this in my inventory, clearly. And then I was like, that's not a real thing. My life is not a video game. But what if I need it to pacify something in order to progress? No, this is real life. This is not a video game. Okay. But it was just weird because it was in that same way of King's Quest that like you leave a place, but because you did something somewhere else, it triggers something to show up. Yeah. So I was like, why is this pacifier here? What do I need this for? I need a satchel to put my strange findings in.
Yeah.
It's also extremely out of place on a stone wall in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sure.
I love moments like that make me feel like my life is actually a fantasy, not just sad, normal adult life.
I mean, there's, for example, this one. This my personal demon. I found it.
Okay.
I was going around the town. I think it was February. I was kind of not very positive mood. I was kind of feeling kind of down. So I was just going to buy some lunch, and then I just saw something gleaming on the ground. There's crouch, and this guy was looking at me from the ground. So I took it and said, okay. Apparently you want to be with me, so come along. So I've been wearing this since that.
Nice. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Some sort of like Oni or something.
Yeah, it's kind of like, demon or Oni. The teeth are a bit like Oni type. Yeah, sure. But it's mine now. Probably some goth somewhere is crying for it, but sorry.
That's what happens. I know that I have, you can see over there's Sora hanging from next to the chameleons. There's a little crystal with him that I believe my mother borrowed once and lost and found again, like, weirdly. Oh. So she had like worn it out and like the clasp had broken, and like she felt so bad about it, and then I think like sometime later like went back and like found it in the drain or something, like in the gutter somewhere.
It
like
has been waiting to be found again. Sure.
Yeah. I always love those like weird little like nice moments. My brother once lost his favorite arrow when we were doing just random archery practice in the field out at my parents' farm, and he had just this one black arrow that was his favorite, and he shot it somewhere we could never find it, and then next spring I shot my arrow right next to it. It was this far away. I got to come home and be like, look what I found, baby sister's useful. Big brothers are just awful to little sisters.
I mean, it probably pissed him off.
Probably.
Quite a bit.
I think he was happy, but like annoyed that it was me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm so happy, but I can't show it because it's you.
Yeah. I do recall at some point in our adult lives, one of my brothers saying that they were legitimately amazed that I still talk to them. Because of how mean they were to me when I was a kid. I mean,
I'm youngest of the batch, so I've been. I know I've been through a lot during my childhood. Lots of experiments and other things gone wrong.
Yeah. No, I was 6 years younger than twins, and a girl. So I'm not going to be smarter. I'm not going to be stronger. I'm not going to be able to be more clever or funnier even, so it's just a constant disadvantage.
I mean, but you come up with stuff, you come up ways. For example, I had an argument with my older brother. He was just pushing me around. So I had this wind-up car, so you can drag it so it when you let it go, it goes forward. So I kind of dragged it, took the wheels and stuck it in his hair and let it go. My mom had to use scissors to get it off. So he was quite pissed.
Beautiful.
But you have to be creative when you are in a disadvantage.
Yeah, I definitely was agile. So, like, escape often involved ducking between someone's legs or just koalaing onto a leg and then you can't do anything. So, I will stay here and hold your leg until you get bored of me and want to leave. So, either de-escalate now or you have a weird pair of pants for forever.
That sounds like me in a BJJ practice these days. Take my opponent's leg. Okay, you can't do anything.
Well, we've been at this for a while. Shall we wrap it up?
Sure.
Right.
If there's anything else.
Yeah, we could go forever if we want
sure.
to, but thank you so much for doing this.
It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, and welcome back again. Stay geeky out there.
Yeah, do that.